The final collection we'll look at is called a dictionary. Now, dictionaries are very useful, but they can also be quite confusing for beginners and experienced developers alike. It's quite easy to kind of get lost in them when you're trying to sort out a data structure. Before we get into the things that could trap you, let's look at what a dictionary actually is. A dictionary is just like a dictionary you'd pick up at a bookstore. It stores associations between keys and values. And obviously, that's just kind of like a standard dictionary. So if we look at an example of airports, our dictionary would look like this. We would have an array of keys, YYZ for Toronto, Dub for Dublin, LHR for London, Heathrow. And inside of those keys, we would have values associated with them. I shouldn't say inside of them, I should say associated, because they're not actually inside. But those values we would pull out by asking our dictionary, I have this key called Dub, what does that mean? What's the value of it? And our dictionary would produce the value associated at that key. Now, keys are of one type and values are of another type. In this case, keys would be strings, values would be strings. Sometimes your keys could be integers and your values could be strings, or the other way around. But generally speaking, they tend to be strings and strings, or integers and strings, or even integers and arrays for values, etc., etc. So you can make any data structure you like, and you can see what I mean. It can get a bit confusing. So before it gets confusing, let's create our own dictionaries and see how to do these the very simple way. So open up your playground and let's create a dictionary. Let's begin by creating a comment, so /. Now, dictionaries are defined in the following way. We have the dictionary declaration itself, and then we have the key and the value that goes with it. So that's how we define the type called dictionary. So let's try that. Let's have var names of integers. And let's make this a dictionary. Open your triangular brace. And let's make the keys of this as integers. And let's make the values as strings. And then we can actually initialize this to its first set of values, or just leave it empty. So the way we do that is by opening a square brace, have an integer, and then a semicolon, string, and our usual open and close brackets. So now we have created an empty dictionary. Now you'll notice, first of all, and this annoys me, that here we have a comma to represent the two elements, but over here we have that semicolon. It's a bit inconsistent if you ask me, and I wish Apple or the guys that make Swift would actually change that, but hey ho, that's what it is. Technically, you don't need this, because Xcode will pick up it's a dictionary. So if we undo that, we will have our dictionary back as we made it. Now, how do we add values to this? Well, let's get our names of ints. And what we want to do is we want to grab one of the keys. So this key is an integer. It could be a number, 7. It could be 5. It could be 87. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. So let's make this 2. So we're grabbing this key at 2, which doesn't actually exist yet, but we're about to make it exist by typing equals, and then typing the word 2, which is a string. So now our dictionary has one value. If we look up the index or the key of 2, we will come out with a string of 2. So let's add another one, names of ints, and let's put something at 9 is equal to 9. So now we have 2 elements in our dictionary. And we could go like this forever and ever. But when we want to get them out, we want to say names of ints and then give me the element at index or key number 2. And if you look over on the right-hand side, once it's caught up, it says the number, or rather the string 2. So that's a dictionary. Now, maybe it's quite difficult to see how that's useful now, but as we continue with programming, you'll see it will become more and more useful when you want to order quite complex sets of data. Now, one final thing before we go, and that is, how do we make different types in our dictionary, and particularly, how do we specify arrays? Well, that's simple enough. I'm just going to delete this. And I'm going to say that this is going to be an array of strings. So every time I have a key integer, next to that integer, I will have a whole bunch of strings that I can pull out. So that's difficult to just think about from words. So let's create that in actual programming. Names of ints. Let's get 2 is equal to. Now it's expecting a string array. So we can't just have 2 because it will complain. So you can see that red mark up there, doesn't like it one bit. And actually down here, it tells us what is wrong with our code. My playground cannot assign value of type string to type string array. So it doesn't like us mixing the two. We need to put this in an array. An array of one element is fine. You can always have that. We can add different translations, like dva. And that's Bulgarian for 2. Probably an horrendous Roman spelling of it. But you get the point. 2, dva. We can add some French. De. And now we have 3 elements. So if I try to access names of ints for the index of 2, we will get on the right 2 dva de. And it tells us what we have. What if we want to access one of those strings? Well, we can access array number 1. Maybe. Or maybe not. So it tells us string has no subscript members names of ints 2, 1. Now, if you look here, we have a string and question mark. It's telling us that I don't think you might not have something here, because it doesn't really know in advance what we have. Or it does, but it doesn't want to tell us. So what you have to do is put a question mark here. And this is sort of a Swift concept, this question mark. Something I'll cover by itself because it's quite a large topic of optionals. That's what it's called. And I'll cover this later on. But it says, if you can access element number 2, then try and access number 1. So it prevents us from getting some horrendous error when we access something that's not within the bounds, just like arrays, if you remember. Right, so that's the long and short on dictionaries. Let's move on. Congratulations! You made it to the end of this video, which puts you in the top 10% of my viewers. For each one of you, there are 9 others who didn't make it this far. That perseverance you've shown means that you're much more likely to succeed as a developer. Now, to help you on your way, I want to give you the next part of my iOS course completely free. No trials, no credit cards, instant access. Simply click the link below the video to ensure that you don't miss out.